Welcome everybody. Today I'm going to be sharing with you one of my long-time, all-time favorite dishes. Something I've been developing for over 20 years. It's great game day food. Love to get it off of a truck. You might be asking, what would you get off a truck? That would be my favorite. Tacos. Specifically carnitas. Carnitas is my all-time favorite. Carnitas tacos are incredibly awesome. Small bites, big plate, you can fill up, or you can just snack all day long. This is a 2-day recipe, involves a crock pot, several other ingredients. And for those of you who like to entertain on game day, this is something you'd want to start the day prior, like Saturday morning, if you're planning on watching the game on Sunday with your friends and family, or maybe Friday morning before you head to work. If you plan on watching college ball, if you're a big college ball fan. So anyway, we're gonna start off with our 8-pound bone-in pork shoulder. Always keep the fat cap up. I did a little pre-prep on this. I went ahead and scored the top, fat and meat, used light salt, pre-salted it, got it ready to go, put it in the fridge for about an hour or so it would, that salt would dissolve and just really hunker down in the meat and get through that fat cap to really impart some good flavor down in the meat. So anyway, we're going to start with just enough olive oil to coat the top. You're going to have to get dirty on this because you're going to want to rub all this in. So go ahead and get that nice and coated generously around all the edges. You don't have to worry about the bottom. You don't have to flip it over. Just get the top covered up, nice. And then you're going to go straight to garlic. You're going to take that, get that on top of the meat, and you're going to want to massage that in. Get it all in the scores that you've created in the meat, so it just really follows that salt down, into the meat as it slow cooks. And during the cooking process, this is an 8 to 10 hour cook, but there'll be several steps along the way that you can take to add flavor or build flavor as you move forward. Next, I'm going to go with a coarse ground black pepper, and I'm just going to keep layering everything. And for those of you that aren't necessarily big black pepper fans, you can decrease the quantity of black pepper that you add to this dish. But I found, over time, over developing this recipe over, 20 plus years, is when you slow cook something, you cook off a lot of the ingredients. You cook off a lot of the herbs and the seasonings, and you get only part of the whole flavor that you've added. So if you go light on these seasonings, you're really going to lose a lot of flavor over an 8 to 10 hour cook. So now I'm going to add the cumin, 2 tablespoons, and that was 2 tablespoons on the black pepper. When I added that, and I just keep massaging it in, and you want to get a nice coating. And you're not trying to build a crust, obviously, because you're not smoking this. You're going to cook it in a crock pot. Lastly, of the dry ingredients, you're going to add oregano. Oregano really imparts a lot of aroma into the meat, a lot of flavor that you wouldn't expect to be in a Mexican dish. Wash my hands up right quick. Next step's going to be to get it into the crock pot, and then we're going to start adding our vegetables, because we use whole vegetables in this, and we use a little bit of liquid, but we don't just throw water in. We use beer. Beer's good. I don't cook any meat in water, always beer. So now you're going to drop that in your crock pot, scrape out the rest of your seasonings that fell off. Throw that in the sink, rinse my hands, Now, I'm going to save the beer for last, just because I like to pour it all over everything, including the next few ingredients that I'm going to add. First off, we're going to go with some cilantro. Love fresh cilantro. You can't get a flavor from any other herb or ingredient that you get from cilantro, especially in Mexican food. How many other recipes I know, and how many other recipes that are out there in the world that you've probably eaten that have cilantro in them. This is going to be about 3 tablespoons we're looking at of rough chopped cilantro. We're just going to dust it right on top. Next ingredient, whole white onion. And this is going to be very, very coarsely chopped. You're almost going to quarter it. So after you get it prepped, get it skinned, I wouldn't even waste your time doing more than quarters or even sixths. You know, you want it to stay large, you want it to stay big, and you want to just drop it in there around the meat so that this dissolves into the meat very, very slowly. You don't want any of this onion to just immediately cook off and dissolve and become liquid. You want it to hang out a bit. You want it to cook down slowly. You want it to, lack of a better term, time release. You want it to time release into the meat. Because if you make it too small, it's just going to boil off in the first few hours, and this is a 8 to 10 hour cook. Sorry, excuse me. Next is going to go whole, fresh jalapeno. My family and friends like this dish a lot, and they also like it to be spicier. You know, not too bland. If it's bland, then I lose hot sauce inventory because it's not hot enough. So I'm just going to devein the jalapeno, but I'm going to leave the seeds in this case because I'm going to shoot for a spicier meat. And then I'm just going to julienne the jalapeno down. And I'm just going to layer it across the top of the meat. Throw some down on the sides. Get the rest of these seeds in here. There we go. Now we're ready for the beer. Nice and slow. Don't pour it too fast. Start around the edges and just get it going. You don't want to wash everything off of meat. And believe me, one 12-ounce can of beer is more than enough liquid in this recipe, due simply to the fact that if you're using a 7 to 8 pound roast in a 7-quart crock pot, that fluid level is going to come up 2-3 inches. It's almost going to completely immerse the pork roast. Anyway, we're done with that part, and now we're going to get it into the crock pot. Put the lid on. We're going to crank this down to low. Low is important. You cook it on high, rubber it. You're not going to like it. It's going to turn into steak, not shreddable. We're going to set this one for 8 hours. And when we come back, we're going to be getting ready to create the pico as part of the side dish that we will also add to the crock pot at about the 2-hour mark to cover the top of the roast to impart more flavor, not only into the meat, but then have pico on the side, avocado and all that fun stuff when we're ready to actually eat the next day. Thank you.